everybody, I thought we'd just have a quick stroll around the plot to see what's happening. It's April the 15th. We've got lots going on in the Polytunnel greenhouse and on our little plot as well outside. So we'll take a little look around. Just thought I'd start by giving you a quick glimpse of the little wildlife area we've got right at the very bottom of the garden. It's looking quite nice at the moment. We've had daffodils and now we've got tulips coming through, and of course all the undergrowth that's been dormant all winter, all the various wildflowers are coming up now, and we're starting to see a lot more in the way of butterflies. Meadow browns and cabbage whites are on their way as well. There's a little apple tree down there as well, Herefordshire russet, which is just coming into bloom. So that's our wildlife area. Get lots of bugs and beasties down here. There is a pond as well tucked away down the bottom. But then to the polytunnel. So what have we got? We've got a lot of things which have been in here all winter. These are all crops which, if any of you watch the videos regularly, you will have seen in the autumn. These have just all been planted, and did a little video then. So this is an update. So we've got broad beans which are flowering well, and I leave the doors of the polytunnel open as much as possible, unless it's really windy, to keep the bees coming in, keep them pollinated. The broad beans here, and they're doing really well. And in amongst them I planted some bronze arrow lettuce. Always keep some lettuce going to plant in amongst everything, and we've been harvesting those for a while. Broad beans just starting to set, so there's some tiny beans right on the bottom, but they're still in the process at the moment. So all I'm doing with these, apart from watering and occasional feed, is to keep tying them in, which is something I need to do. Got to get these tied into the canes because they're quite top heavy, and they will certainly be top heavy once the beans get on there. So that's a job I've got to do. On this side, grew some chicory this year, which I've really loved. Going to grow it again next year. It's really hardy as well, so it stood the winter really well in here, and really tasty. It's just a little bitter, so it mixes really well with the lettuce, with the bronze arrow lettuce over there, or you know, just on its own, perhaps with a balsamic or sort of honey dressing, just to take a little bit of the bitterness off. But I love it. So yeah, as you can see, that's a heritage variety, and it's quite variable. So you get some which are nice tight heads, a bit like a lettuce over there, and then you get others which are much looser heads, and various markings as well. These have got lovely sort of splashes of maroon splashes on them, but some have more than others. Some are almost completely green, but very nice, very tasty. Got some spring greens there, which were started off last year outside and protected from the cabbage whites, then planted in here in the autumn. Been picking odd leaves off of those for stir fries and other recipes. Then we've got the purple sprouting broccoli, which has been cropping for a good month now, and just this little patch here, which I suppose is about 20 plants or so, been more than enough for two of us, and we've actually frozen a little bit as well, but still cropping really well, but coming to the end, and that will soon be coming out. Past the essential chair in the corner, of course. Yeah, so that's the main crux of what's going on in here. I've cleaned the polythene, which has helped a lot actually, and once all these are done, which certainly should be by June, and say we're about middle of April now. Once the beans start to crop, they won't be in for very long after that. They'll all come out, and it'll be time for tomatoes again. And I'll take you to the greenhouse and just show you how the tomatoes are doing. So over to the greenhouse. I'm trying to be sensible this year. I always grow too many tomatoes. Never quite manage it. I can fit about 35-36 plants into the polytunnel. So I've tried to keep it, with a few spares there, but I've tried to keep it down to that, or not too much more than that. Obviously it's nice to be able to give some away as well. A few favourite varieties. So saved virtually all the seeds here. I don't think I've bought any seeds this year. So we've got Tigerella, no F1s of course, because I'm saving them. Tigerella, we've got, which is a familiar one, you'll all know. Moonglow, which is a lovely large yellow fruited tomato, which I love. That's this one over here. one of my favourites. Welsh Farmer Laws, which is a larger red tomato, but it's really stocky plants. They're always really lovely and stocky and strong. Cream sausage, which is a nice one for recipes, for soups, that sort of thing. Yellow grape, which is my favourite, absolute favourite cherry tomato, and I've saved the seeds from those. What else have we got in there? I think that's most of them. I've got a few new varieties as well, which I'm trying, which haven't even got names yet, but I've been lucky enough to be given to have a go with. So we'll see how they grow. Some are quite interesting, these. Some have apparently got variegated fruit and slightly variegated leaves as they grow. In fact, I think there's just a slight variegation on that young leaf, which perhaps that will become more pronounced as these grow and get bigger. They're already starting to stretch, so they're in the smallest pots at the moment. They're probably about 3 centimetre pots, and I shall 3-inch pots, and I shall need to pot them up soon, because some of them are starting to stretch. And so, I mean, these were only potted up 10 days ago, and they were planted right as low as I possibly could, so the seed leaves were touching the soil, but already they're going to need some more space come the weekend, this Easter weekend. I shall spend time spacing those out. What else have we got in here veggie wise? We've got plenty of flowers as well. We've got some overwintered chilies which are just starting to shoot, so we'll see if that gives us a head start, so we get chilies a little earlier this year. Not easy to overwinter, so I'm quite glad that we actually managed to keep 3. That's a record for me, I think. Normally they get botrytis and die back, but then they're just starting to shoot, just getting little shoots on them. So we'll keep an eye on those and see how they go. And then we've got various sort of bedding plants and things in here which are doing variously well. I'm not entirely happy with the compost. Some peat-free compost I picked up, which I'm not entirely happy with, and the germination's pretty poor. So may have to sow again. But amongst here we've got some courgettes coming up. These were only sown less than a week ago, so only just coming through. And we've got one little mini munch cucumber just coming through there. Again, that was only sown on the 13th, so literally 3 days ago those were sown. So doing pretty well, considering. And over here we've got, these will be beans. Talk more about beans in a minute. And we've got some peas coming up there, and these are Munch 2 or snow peas, so looking forward to those because they're my favourites. But again, compost a little bit dodgy, and I'm just worried that may be all I get, so we'll see. It's early days yet. I'm probably just being impatient. So we're out on our little plot, and it is a very small plot, just a few raised beds, but yes, we'll see how we're getting on. These are beetroot. So 2 sorts of beetroot here, Bolt Hardy, which is one of my favourites, and also a heritage variety called Avon Early, and they were sown on the 5th of the month, so quite pleased. They've germinated quite well, and they'll probably need thinning out within a week or so, so that they don't become too overcrowded. So yeah, I normally struggle with beetroot a little bit because we do get the beet leaf miner, so I'm going to have to watch out for those and do something about those, cover with some Enviromesh or something, because they normally cause me some problems. You'll notice as we go round, everything is covered. This had a covering over it, and I just took it off to be able to show you the seedlings. We've got a family of foxes which live under our shed, so they do like a bit of soil to dig in, so everything has to have a little bit of mesh over the top just to keep them off. There's other places in the garden, so I have to just keep them off my veggies. These are some leeks that I had from Marshall's garden, and when these arrived in the autumn, they were shooted, if you like. It doesn't sound quite right, does it? But something like that anyway. They were in trays, let's put it that way, and they'd already produced roots and a little shoot when they went in the autumn, and they've been sat out here all winter. And now in the spring they're starting to bulk up really nicely, Quite pleased with those. They've just had a feed. We've given them lots of water over this dry spring. We've all had a few weeks of very dry weather, haven't we? But they've had a feed of garlic and onion food and lots of water. And I'm hoping, that's quite a key with garlic, to give them plenty of moisture, that the nice thick stems will translate to nice big bulbs when we come to dig them up later in the year. So garlic there. Then we've got, again, covered in grids. Looks like they're in prison, but some white and red onions here. Again, these were pre-shot, pre-shooted, whatever, chitted. Maybe that's more seeds, isn't it? But they were started anyway into growth in trays, and I bought them in. Again, these were from Marshall's. Yeah, they've come away really well. They're nice and strong. Keep watering again. Had a little feed about a week ago again with some onion and garlic food. Watered that in well. Just weeded them today. Didn't want to show you all the weeds, so I weeded them a little bit. I've missed a few there, look. But they're all doing very well, nice and strong, nice and green. So I'm hoping we get some decent sized bulbs by June, July. And then another bed. We'll pass the self-sown forget-me-nots, which are always lovely, aren't they? A little bed of strawberries again in their covering. Just planted these today. I've transferred these from tubs. This is their second year. They've been in tubs, but we've got this spare bed, and it's got a nice framework over it for netting. So come the weekend, I'll put the netting back up just to keep, again, partly to keep the foxes off. But as the plants start to flower and fruit, we'll get some straw under them for a start, but then we'll put the netting over to make sure that we keep the birds and the squirrels off. Actually, squirrels are worse for us than birds even for strawberries. So that's a strawberry. Mara de Bois, that one. It's a perpetual fruiting variety and my absolute favourite strawberry. Just here, we've got, if for regular readers, I hope you're thinking about joining our parsnip grow along this year. This is my efforts. This is a second sowing, looking a bit late, so I think you're going to beat me, even if you, if any of you out there have already sown yours and are growing them on. I know we've had a few pictures in from readers, and their seedlings are much bigger than mine, got at least 1 or 2 true leaves by now. Had to start mine off again, had a bit of a disaster to start with. Started them off again, growing them in a dustbin, which has got drainage holes drilled in it, with some compost, obviously filled with, it's filled with a bit of loam and some compost. I'm giving you all my secrets. As you see, I've sown it in 2 halves, so this half is actually unknown really. It's parsnip seed collected from my daughter's allotment plot. She had a lot of self-seeded parsnips on there when she took it over. They had pretty decent roots on them, so we let some of them self-seed, collected the seeds. This was just last year, so they were very fresh seeds, and sown them, and they've come up rather well. I sowed loads because I wasn't confident how many would come up, but they've done really well, so I'm going to have to thin these. I shall thin them gradually and just leave them perhaps a dozen of my best, and see how we grow on. On the other half, they're just starting to come through now, so they're probably a week or 2 later, and they're my tender and true seeds. We've got one just, let me see, I can point it out just there, one, but the others are starting to come through, I think I can just see. So yes, the self-saved seed, I guess because it's ultra fresh, it's come up just that little bit quicker, but I'm sure in the end they'll all catch up and grow away equally successfully. It's just it's like all these things, you sow a few weeks earlier sometimes, but things which are sown a bit later do end up catching up. Little pond on the plot is looking quite nice. To show you there, just because of the marigolds in full bloom, the marsh marigold looking very nice. We've got some Livingston rhubarb, which is coming through. That's only its 2nd year, so it's quite a young plant. And some freshly planted gooseberries and blackcurrants, and some older blackcurrants up there. So all coming on very nicely. And I must just finish by showing you my apple trees, which are looking gorgeous at the moment. So I'm really hoping we are going to get a decent crop of apples this year. So we've got Katie. Katie is the one just in front of you there, which is looking really nice. But they're both looking really good, and yeah, should get a good crop. The pear tree at the top of the garden as well is blooming well, so I'm hoping this is going to be a really good year for fruit, but we'll see. Okay, I'll just take you back to the polytunnel. Oh, just wanted to mention this bed, which we cut out on the lawn last year. Got a terrible ground elder problem in this garden, so we've had to cover with some cardboard for a little while to stifle it a little bit until our beans are ready. This is where our dwarf French and climbing French beans are going to go. They went there last year and did really well, but yeah, we've just keeping the weeds down on this until we come to plant, which will be when the frosts are over, probably first week of June, last week of May, first week of June. Okay, chaps, well, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed a little stroll around the plot. If you did enjoy it, then please do subscribe, and also get in touch and let us know how you're getting on at the moment. If you've got any top tips you'd like to share with us, anything you're growing, if you're joining in with the Parsnip Grow Along, then of course keep us updated on how things are going, and do keep in touch. It's always lovely to hear from you. Okay, well, bye for now and talk to you again soon.